So I think we can all agree that the police have problems, right? I'm sure we all can agree to the simple premise, whether you're right-wing, conservative, far left, far right, I don't care. I mean, well, maybe if you're far right, you can't agree to that. But listen, you're a Nazi at that point, so I mean, maybe you like the authoritarians. Now, I'm not deep in the radical left Twitter sphere, but there's a meme that even I see on my sphere of Twitter, which Twitter's a hellhole, mind you, but I see this stat all the time, which is 40% of cops are domestic abusers. Now, I inflictively thought the stat was bullshit, right? And I looked into it, and it's pretty much bullshit, and today I'm going to tell you why. Now, upon initial research, I looked into this meme, and I was really looking for this study. Now, this study originally comes from a site called womeninpolicing.com, and it goes to a page, which is now 500 internal server errored, meaning you cannot find it. So, this immediately puts a hurdle in your line of where you're going to find this study, but thankfully, the Wayback Machine exists. And so I go on the Wayback Machine, and I go all the way to about, I'd say, I think it was February 13th of 2018, and then I looked at a snapshot of the website and the specific page of where the study comes from, and I was able to find it. And now, in the sources of this page, they link two main ones. The Johnson LB studies on the front line from 1991, and the Knighting P.H. Russell, study from 1992. And so I downloaded these two studies, which, mind you, in its own right was hard to find. Finding these two studies is actually a bit of a loophole because it links all the way back to the Women in Policing study, and it's a big rabbit hole, you think. And it actually, I was able to find the PDF of these actual studies, and wow, do they have some problems. So firstly, we have the On the Front Lines Policing study, which actually is the main one that I see discussed when you're talking about this. Now, I'm going to link the PDF in the description below because maybe I'm wrong and maybe I don't read into this because I'm not like a statistician. I'm not really that much of an expert on this, but I read into the study and I looked for the specific stat that they're trying to cite, and I will tell you that one that I'm looking at. In a 1988 Arizona study of 553 police officers and their spouses, 41% of male officers and 34% of female officers reported violent assaults in their marital relationship, compared with 16% of civilians. Over one-third of wives of police officers, 37%, reported violence in their marriage. And they also, in themselves, link back to the second study, which we will now go take a look at. So looking at that second study, it actually is a self-reported survey, a self-reported one, mind you, that revealed approximately 40% of the participating officers reported marital conflicts involving physical aggression during the previous year. Now, I don't know if this is maybe me, but a self-reporting study seems a bit biased, you'd say. You can definitely have some problems, and so I looked at the methodology of this. And it says basically that they only interviewed 350 male officers, 40 female officers, and 115 female spouses. This is entirely an extremely small sample size, and even with the small sample size, there's other flaws in the methodology. 66% of the respondents were between the age of 30 to 49, with most officers having served between 15 and 19 years in law enforcement. Basically, saying that most of the study is people that are like pretty much in their middle ages and have served in the fucking law enforcement career for a majority of their lives. Now, this is actually a very problem because a lot of the new police recruits are probably going to be grouped into this 40%. And even then, the study actually has such a small sample size that it's actually not really comparable to the entire police force. I think maybe we shouldn't be throwing bullshit stats out like that when they're really on such shaky ground as this, you know? And I want to make note that in the last paragraph of this beautiful self-report survey PDF, that the limited sample size and narrow range of variables investigated limit the conclusions that can be drawn. However, these preliminary findings would indicate that there is a possibility to identify groups at relatively higher risk within the law enforcement profession. So even in the study itself, it mentions in the discussion at the very end that there's not many conclusions that can be drawn because of how narrow and how limited the sample size is. Yet, these are the two studies that are mainly cited when you talk about the 40% stat, because it literally is the 40% self-reported study. I keep using the word study and survey interchangeably. I apologize about that. But again, I want to point out that this survey is brought up so much in police memes that it's not even a fucking joke at this point. I would mention that, like, if you see this meme, maybe you probably should link to this video and let them know that, yeah, it's fine, police suck, I understand. But maybe we shouldn't be throwing bullshit stat around. That's just my thoughts, and that's my doomer take, boys.